The playset project is complete, and more western states are poised to pay people who are willing to give up their lawns for conservation. Brett Goodyear joins me to talk about emerging trends in homeowner lawn care. It's another full episode of the Cherish Each Mowment podcast. All right, welcome back to another episode. Excited to catch you up on everything here. We've got a good one for you. Let's start with the play set. This was a 2-day project over the course of 2 weeks or so. Maybe a week. Took 2 Saturdays, we'll put it that way. And the first day was by far the longest. It took about 6 hours or so, pretty good portion of the day, from grabbing the trailer from my father-in-law. Had to drive over there. They live about a mile down the road. And grab the trailer, unload, or load everything up on the trailer from where we were keeping this playset in storage. Bring it all home, unload it into the backyard. I tried to organize at least the bigger pieces as best I could while we were unloading, and then finally assembling it. It was a lot of work. Long day, but we got it done. And as I mentioned before, we did buy this as a used set, and I knew when I got it that there were going to be some parts either missing or that just needed to be replaced in general. So I had to order a few pieces of hardware in order to secure the roof to the main structure, a new swing, couple other odds and ends. Big shout out to the Lifetime Company. Their customer support was super helpful as far as helping me find the pieces that I needed to replace, and they have all of their assembly instructions available on their website. So you just take the model number and the product number, you can find assembly instructions. So it's super nice. I downloaded them onto my iPad, and I like doing that because then I can search the document, and it makes finding things a little bit easier too. And the kids love it. I think that's the most important part. That's what matters most. The kids love it. But what matters second most is how I'm going to feel navigating a lawnmower and a string trimmer around this thing. And I think that's where most of my interest lies going forward as far as the playset's concerned. I've been worrying about this since last fall when we first bought it. I did make a video documenting the install of the playset, and I was sure to mention my feelings about keeping the grass and having to mow around it. I'm going to make a follow-up video on this after a while, probably later on this year, maybe around mid to late summer, early fall. Give myself some time to really see how I feel about it. But I am going to make a video and express my official opinion on whether or not I think it's worth keeping the grass there, or if we should make it an enclosed space with different material around the playset, whatever that might be. I've gotten a lot of suggestions from people in the comments of my video and just in general posting about it. And there's some good suggestions there. A lot of people have suggested sand, and I'm willing to guess that those people haven't really been following me close enough to know what's going on with the putting green and the sand and the putting green and the cats that we have. So I don't want to give the cats the biggest litter box they've ever seen, especially when the kids are playing around in there. That's not good. So we're going to have to maybe figure something out in the future, but for now, we're going to try the grass. We're going to see how it goes, and you'll just have to stay tuned. I don't even know how this is going to turn out. I'm trying to be completely open-minded about the whole thing. So we'll see. I've mentioned before that I think it's important to keep up with the efforts of other states as far as water conservation goes, because it could potentially foreshadow what's done here in Utah. I've talked several times about cities in Nevada paying residents to remove their grass. And well, it looks like that could be happening here pretty soon. A Utah House bill just passed, and it proposes spending up to $5 million on incentives to get people to replace their grass with more drought-friendly local landscaping. So, getting into the details here, it looks like they primarily want to target park strips, which I'm not a fan of anyways. I think they're stupid. And they want to target other grass that isn't used, so we're talking like business parks, road medians, things like that. And there's pros and cons to this bill, and it looks like others in the Utah House agree with me here. The committee chair, Kevin Stratton, said he had concerns about going too far. He's citing carbon sequestration. He worried that ripping up all the lawns would create heat traps, and I agree with that. And I've talked about that before. Taking away the lawns will make it hotter. He said, I just don't want us to have unintended consequences to our environment by saying grass is bad, let's take out all the grass and put rocks in or something. And I totally agree with him. And I agree with parts of this bill too, but I also think, and I've said this many times regarding water conservation, that more effort needs to be taken to educate people about not only good conservation practices, especially for homeowners who choose to have grass, but also for people who are interested in deciding between keeping their grass or switching to a more natural landscape. There's pros and cons to both sides. Grass does have really nice environmental benefits if it's properly and responsibly maintained. In similar news, Colorado's jumping on this train. They're increasing the scope of their current offerings. Most current turf buyout programs in Colorado pay $1 per square foot to replace grass with drought-friendly alternatives. And they only cover about 25% of Colorado's population. The turf buyout bill that's being proposed right now would match local spending to increase the buyouts to $2 a square foot and bring $1 a foot buyouts to the other 75% of the state living without a buyout option. Sponsors and environmental backers said. That's quoting from this article I found on the topic. John Berggren, who is a water analyst from a nonprofit, he said, there's a growing recognition that we have to reduce the amount of irrigated turf we have, and a growing recognition that while some turf is definitely beneficial, parks, sports fields, parts of people's yards, we all know there's a lot of turf that doesn't get used. I can agree with that to an extent. Like I said, there may be a lot of turf that doesn't get used where, by definition, say, not walking on it or not spending time on it. But if that turf's well maintained, like I said before, if it's properly and responsibly maintained, that turf is being used. It's filtering. It's providing an environment for microbes and other forms of life, and it's keeping its surrounding area cooler. There's lots of benefits to grass regardless of whether you think it's being used. Now, if this grass was neglected and looked terrible and wasn't being properly maintained, then we'd have more of an argument to be made here that this turf isn't getting used. That would be true. So I don't mind that these conversations are happening. I think these are good conversations to have. And I can see advantages to bills like these, and I can also see disadvantages, because people who are for these bills and for ripping out grass seem, at least in my perspective, seem to be very passionate about just getting rid of the vast majority of lawns. But we have to remember that lawns do serve a purpose, and it's not just to look nice, and it's not just for activity. There's more to it. There's a lot more going on beneath the surface that we don't see and that we don't really consider in these conversations. And I hope that's brought more to light and brought more to the surface of these discussions that are happening within state leadership and more local leadership as well. So we'll be curious to see how that goes, and definitely be tracking that and keeping an eye on that, and continue to share my opinions and my thoughts and feelings as more news breaks. Very excited to have Brett Goodyear on the show. Brett is a coworker at Yard Mastery and is the Florida man on the Brett's Grasscapades YouTube's channel.
Do I still have a YouTube channel?
Do you? That's a great question. Maybe we can start there. How's the YouTube channel?
I don't know. I haven't looked. I haven't done anything on my channel in a long time. I have all the intention and plans to make it bigger and better this year, but I get distracted.
Nice. Yeah. Well, it's easy to get distracted. That's the way it goes.
Susie says Alvin makes me work too much, but my work really consists of hanging out with Alan and going fishing and playing golf.
Sounds like a great job.
It's tough, man.
It's a little different than my day to day.
Hey, listen, you make it to where I can go fishing, Jimmy, and I appreciate that.
We'll say hi to Susie in the background too, and I guess formerly known as the Lawn Wife Life.
She's got an Instagram.
Yeah.
We've got a competition running for who can do the least amount on our social media. It's a dead heat right now.
She doesn't post a lot, but when she does, her posts are just gold. They're so good. They're so funny.
It's quality, not quantity. Right?
I agree for sure. Well,
I think, Jimmy, let's take it away. What do we got tonight?
I think we should start with a little bit of history. I think that'd be kind of fun.
History.
The very first time that I went to your house was the first time that I ever used a reel mower. And
the rest is history.
Right? The rest is history. Look at the rabbit hole I'm in now. This is all it's all your fault.
How the turntables, right?
Right. Do you remember that?
I do. That was Jeremy brought you up, I believe, right?
I don't know if I came with Jeremy that day or not. I don't think I did. This was
blurring together.
This was the time I came over, and you had the Greensmaster 1000. You had the the 180B, the John Deere. And
which coincidentally you have now.
right. And I was just thinking back on this because you had both mowers out in the driveway and you gave me the choice. Which one do I want to use? And very naturally, I went right at the Toro. I could care less about the John Deere for whatever reason. But I was dead set on the Toro, and I mowed your lawn with the Toro. And like you said, a couple of years later, that exact same John Deere mower is now in my garage.
Right, and it's, I mean, not long after that, it was out of my house and up the mountain to old John Perry's house.
Right.
For him to neglect.
Yep. And that's the condition that I took it in. It wasn't all too bad. I actually have been working on a video kind of explaining my experience taking over that mower.
So I was gonna ask you about the John Deere.
Mm-hmm.
Last update I heard from you was your dad got the engine running again.
Yeah. So it does start now, it does run. It's in good working order as far as
well, I mean, it has a Honda engine on it.
Yes.
So it's hard to kill.
It's very hard to kill. And
like so I bought that mower from the Weeks auction.
Mm-hmm.
I literally paid $110 for that mower. I stole it. Great deal.
Yeah, you did.
The only person who got a better deal on that mower was you and John. Well, John, I think John got the best deal because John didn't pay for it and it worked when he got it. So
I can agree with that statement. I think I've put more money into that mower than both of you combined.
Probably because I literally did nothing to it.
Mm-hmm.
I did nothing to that mower. I got that on a whim. I had watched some Connor Ward videos.
Yeah.
And I had recently gone up to where Connor lives, and I had taken his Greensmaster 1000, which was the one that I had at my house when you came that one time.
Yeah. And
he kept telling me, I'm going to come down there and I'm going to take it from you. So you better find you a real mower because I'm coming down one day and I'm going to take it. And so I bought that. A Weeks auction had come up and I literally like sight unseen, didn't look at it at all, bid on it. And my first bid ended up being the winner at $110. And it got to my house. I shipped it out to my house. I got it, and it literally started on the first pull.
Mm-hmm.
And I never did anything to it. Just ran with it.
You never had it sharpened?
Never had it sharpened. I never had any issues with it. It cut great. Did you end up getting it sharpened?
I'm about to take it in to get it sharpened. Yeah, it needs a new bed knife too.
Yeah.
So I've got a new bed knife for it, and I have got new bed knife screws for it, and one of the blades on the reel is bent and needs to be ground a little bit because it catches on the bed knife. And so,
have you tried bending it back a little bit?
Yeah, I've tried. I can't get it. I actually cut my finger a little bit trying to do it too, which was not good. It's been an adventure.
You probably shouldn't do that.
I know. Probably shouldn't do that. It's been an adventure. I replaced the bail handle on it because John was using a bungee cord.
Which, FYI, was not how it showed up at his house. It had a perfectly functioning bail bar when I sent it with John. Yep. So
I received it as a bungee cord. And
working great.
Yeah, it worked.
That mower has seen some. That mower has had more abuse in its life after being on a golf course.
Yeah.
Than it ever got while it was on the golf course, probably.
I'm sure.
Because that mower went through Connor bullying it around and somehow managing to break both of the belts on it, to John somehow managing to break the bail bar and the bed knife and bend the reel
And the belt.
and then showed up at your house.
Yeah.
So hopefully it lives a better life with you, Jimmy.
I'll sure try. I've certainly I've certainly given it some love since I've had it. So it's got
a bit more TLC than it received in Park City.
Yeah, it's got the new bail bar. It's got new belts on it. One of the tires was flat, and they're tubeless tires. And since they kind of look like they're cracked a little bit and worn, I just put a tube in it. And then it's got fresh oil. It's got a fresh air filter. It's going to have a fresh grind on it. It's going to have a brand new bed knife on it. So it's going to be like a brand new mower.
Really? I mean, honestly, it will be. That's way more than I ever did to it.
I'm really excited. And spring cannot come soon enough. So
I keep forgetting that other places
we're not mowing here, dude. The grass is
cold.
Very dormant still. But my front lawn still has stripes in it.
So you would be surprised at how dormant a lot of lawns are down here this year.
Well, you guys had quite the freeze recently too.
Yeah, so we had 2 nights, I think, that we got at freezing or below freezing. And I can tell you that St. Augustine lawns do not like freezing temperatures because they
are
out.
Gone.
Everybody's lawn is like completely dormant except for mine.
That's hilarious.
And mine is only kind of hanging on.
Mm-hmm.
My lawn is pretty green overall. Like there's a very stark difference between my grass and everyone else's, but it doesn't look great. I can tell you it didn't like the cold.
Yeah. Well, no, that's why they call it warm season grass, right? It doesn't like the cold.
I suppose.
It just can't handle
it. I was looking back at, Facebook pops up with the memories and whatnot. And I was looking back at memories from this time last year when I overseeded my entire backyard with rye. And I'm like, man, that looked good. And then I looked at my backyard right now. It's all splotchy and stuff because some of the grass is checked out. Some of it hasn't.
Yeah.
I'm like, ugh, it looks so bad this year. Oh, well.
What are you going to do?
Nobody's watching grass videos, even if I made them right now.
Nope. Not a chance. Are you still real mowing? What's going on over
So the big news is, yes, I am still real mowing. But there's a big caveat to that. And I am real mowing maybe 500 square feet of turf right now, which the only turf that I've been real mowing is the putting green.
Yeah. So you've got a little putting green that you've put in. Well, I wouldn't say that you put it in. You started mowing an area that. Yeah,
I mean,
you basically cut out a putting green in the backyard.
I literally just said, "Hey." One day I was like, "I'm going to cut a putting green into my backyard." I did, and honestly, it's not that bad.
The rest of us are not as fortunate enough to have sand already installed in our yards, unlike Florida people who live on sand. So,
yeah, I mean, it's all sand. So
yeah.
It's I already had Bermuda in that area.
Mm-hmm.
And
are most golf greens in Florida Bermuda grass, or do they use a different?
I would venture to say that all golf greens in Florida are Bermuda.
Okay.
That may not be 100% correct, but for my experience, it's 100% Bermuda.
Okay, cool.
So like even right now, even this time of year, when the nicer courses in the area are all overseeded with rye, the greens are still Bermuda.
Okay.
Because the rye obviously can't support a 1/10 of an inch cut.
Yeah.
So yeah, all Bermuda down here. Pretty much wall to wall, tees, fairways, rough, everything is Bermuda.
Mm-hmm.
Because it just, your only other options really when you get this far south is like Bahia Grass and St. Augustine,
Yeah.
which neither of those really lend to be very nice playing surfaces.
Yeah, I agree. I can't imagine seeing that on a golf course.
Yeah.
How low are you cutting your putting green right now?
I last time I looked at the height of cut, I think I have it at right around like 0.15. Like
Dang,
it's
okay.
low.
Yeah, that's super low. That's pretty much there.
Right. I I don't really have the right cultivar Bermuda for it to really go lower or look fantastic. I'll be interested to see, because I didn't cut that green in until like late in the fall.
Mm-hmm.
And it was already starting to get cooler, so it wasn't really like thriving as far as the Bermuda just pushing. So
Yeah.
I'll be really interested to see. I actually, when I first decided to cut it in, I threw a bunch of Monaco seed onto there, just because I had some.
Yeah.
And so Bermuda grass does not establish well from seed. I've learned it is extremely slow to establish. So I don't know how much of that ended up actually establishing, but it's really not that bad. It's serviceable. A ball will roll on there.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not doing a lot of putting on there. I use it more for like a little chipping green,
Mm-hmm.
but it does everything that I needed to do.
Yeah, I can see myself chipping a lot more onto mine as well. And I'll putt on it too. I wanted to make sure it was a decent size at least to be able to have good putts on it.
Right. Now how I don't remember exactly how big did you end up making yours?
It's about 500 square feet. So it's about similar size to yours. But yeah, I planted my seed bent grass, definitely not Bermuda.
You're not allowed to have Bermuda.
I can't have that up here.
That it would work anyways. You'd have like 2 months.
Exactly. I was just going to say, I'd only have a month or two for it to actually look decent. But I planted it later in the year and kind of going through the same phase you are, where you try to get it as established as you can, knowing that it's just going to go dormant and you got to wait. But it's mostly filled in. But once spring comes around and I can start watering it again and throwing a lot of fertilizer at it, I'll be able to push it and fill in the rest pretty quickly.
Yeah,
it grows so fast, that bent grass. It's so fast growing.
I'll be really interested to see if you end up having any sort of like contamination from the bent grass getting into your bluegrass. Because I know almost every golf course out there in Utah, you see everywhere.
Yep. As soon as you're walking up to the greens on the approach,
they've got bent grass just
everywhere.
all over the place, where it's just taken over in fairways and stuff. So I'll be really interested to see if you have any of that.
It's so bad at some golf courses that you can just tell like it's such a big project for them to want to try and fix all of that they just don't even bother.
Right. Yeah. I mean, the courses that are not as high end of courses, they're just like, hey, you know what? We got like a 30% bent grass fairway.
Yeah.
Yeah. You just deal with it.
And it's not really that big of a deal.
No, I mean, it's not going to change the playing surface that much.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll be curious to see how long it takes before it starts, showing up in in the rest of my backyard in little patches. I'm going to do my best to try and control it, and we'll just kind of have to see how that goes.
So what's your plan as far as like fertilization schedule? Are you going to do a spoon feeding regimen? Or are you going to do mostly liquids? Are you going to do mostly granular? What's the plan there, Jimmy?
It's a great question, and that's something I haven't really talked much about either. But I plan to.
I don't want to spoil.
No spoilers at all.
Plan.
No, that's what this is for. That's why.
See, because I don't have a plan, so everything's free game.
Yeah, I have thought since I started this project that it would be good to just do liquids on the putting green. Putting green is just exclusively liquid treatments, and I think that would be easier given that, you know, depending on the fertilizer you're using, the prills are big and they're just going to stand on top of the grass and take a while to get down into the canopy. Liquids, they just go right into the canopy. And so...
No, I get that. Makes sense to me.
Yeah. So I'm going to use liquids, and I have really become a fan of the spoon feeding strategy for the entire yard, front and back, putting green, doesn't matter. Right. I think the spoon feeding strategy is the way to go. Growth patterns more consistent,
I like
colors
it too,
more
because
consistent.
It really prevents the spikes.
Right.
And the ebbs and flows of, hey, I hammered down 3/4 of a pound of nitrogen and now I'm getting growth like crazy. And then you can tell when it's starting to wear off, and then you put some more. You don't have any of that. It's just consistent.
Yep.
And especially with like high impact turf, or really, really highly maintained turf like you're doing in the front yard, it allows you to have a much more regimented schedule. Because then you're saying, hey, I'm doing weekly spoon feeding. I'm having a consistent amount of nitrogen in the soil. My grass is having a consistent amount to give me that growth. I know my growth patterns, and then you can have a consistent growth regulator program, and it's just everything is good, as opposed to coming in and out of regulation, and coming in and out of turf being pushed by nitrogen. You're just having it consistent across the board. That's what I really prefer doing myself.
Yeah, I agree. Absolutely. Definitely worth it. Do you think the backyard or the homemade DIY putting greens is going to be a thing? Is that going to be a big trend, do you think?
I honestly, I don't. I think you'll see a handful of people doing it. I do it. I put it in because my kids enjoy it. We'll go out into the backyard and we'll hit some balls because it's something that I enjoy. They enjoy it. So I use it a lot for me, but I think that it's such a high maintenance thing that the vast majority of people that will actually use it aren't going to have the time or energy or want to put forth the effort to maintain that to the level that they would want. I think there's way more people that would be interested in putting in a chipping green that's artificial turf and going that route, because there's no maintenance.
Yeah, for sure. I tend to agree with you. I'm learning, even just in the couple months that I've been mowing that putting green, that, like I said, that grass grows fast, and you got to mow
right
it.
when you're because here's the thing, man. Like when you're mowing at like I'm doing like 0.15, like you can't be missing 2 or 3 days.
Right.
You can't get away with not mowing in the growing season. When in the fall, when I first was cutting it at that height, I was legitimately mowing it every day and taking off, yeah, a decent amount of grass clippings off of my little tiny green. Like I was taking out probably close to half a basket on my 1600, which is a lot of grass.
It's a lot of grass. Yeah.
Yeah. So it's, I think that, and this is something I think I'll probably talk about in a video at some point, is I think that it's honestly for most people more upkeep than they're willing to take on.
Yep, totally agree. I think hearing it from you and hearing it from John, and I've had similar feelings. I think we're going to have pretty similar videos talking about the pros and cons of putting greens. And it really just comes down to whether or not you're committed enough to actually maintain it. When you've got to be pretty committed to do that. So
now I will say, so if you're legitimately only maintaining a putting green like mine that's maybe 500 square feet, it does only take me 10 minutes to mow it. Like it's in and out, it's quick.
Do you double cut it?
Yeah, I like triple cut.
Yeah.
It's such a small area that back and forth this way, back and forth this way, back and forth at an angle, doing it in circles. I'm cutting it multiple times every time because I want it to roll more true. And obviously the more you cut it, the better it's going to roll.
Right.
So, but it is something that you can't, I went out of town for a week at one point after we had done it, and we came back in town, and it was like, it had grown to be almost like 3/4 of an inch, which doesn't sound like a lot
for a putting green. That's super tall. That's like overgrown.
Right, but yeah, I mean, when you're taking off, over half an inch, it was bad. And that was under regulation too. Like that was with growth regulator on it. It had grown almost half an inch.
Now imagine if it didn't have the growth regulator on it.
Oh my gosh, it'd been an inch and a half. But it would have been ridiculous.
Yeah.
So I think there may be a trend of people attempting to do it. And then I think there will be a pretty high attrition rate. I think there's going to be a lot of people that'll fall off and be like, yeah, you know what? This sucks. I don't like doing this.
Yeah, I can see that.
Because think of the expense. Excuse me. Think of the expense, right? So if let's say you're Joe Schmo off the street, right? And you've got a riding mower or a push mower, and that's the only piece of equipment you have. In order to get into the game of having a putting green, you gotta commit and buy a reel mower. And I can tell you from experience that a homeowner reel mower is not going to cut it.
No.
And I'm talking like, this is no shot at even the higher end homeowner mowers, Swordman, Owlet. This is not a shot at these mowers. I have a Swordman. I like the mower. However, it does not do what the Toro will do when you're talking about green height mowing. Yeah. That mower is not made to mow at green height. Just not.
And I don't think that companies like Swordman or Owlet are trying to advertise that.
Now the higher end outlets will.
Yes.
Commercial outlets.
Yes, commercial ones.
They're made for professional sports turf.
Yeah. But the homeowner models though, they're just advertising to the people who just want a real mow in general.
Exactly. They're mowing at 3/4 of an inch.
Yeah.
But so we're talking you got to get a professional level reel mower if you want to do it correct. If you want to have a green that's going to roll, you've got to mow under 1/4 of an inch. You have to.
Right.
And And yeah, so you have to get yourself into a John Deere or a Toro or a Jacobson,
Mm-hmm.
and or you could go the Hudson Star route, right?
Yeah.
Uh, but you know, they're not cheap and they are not easy to find. And I don't know if you're probably like me. I always have my ear to the ground on real mower prices.
Mm-hmm.
Real mower prices,
Going up.
along with the prices of everything else in the
Everything's
world right
going up.
now,
Yep.
are through the roof. I could sell any one of my real mowers that I have in my garage for probably close to $2,000 or more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like
So the barrier
you're
to
talking
entry has just gotten
right,
bigger. Yeah.
right. You're talking a significant investment to get into the ability to do this.
Mm-hmm.
So you got to invest that money to purchase the mower. Then you have to, unless you just go the route that I did, where you already have a grass that can be maintained really short. You have to go to the route you did, where you essentially dug out your lawn and backfilled and replanted.
Mm-hmm.
That's a significant investment of time and money and energy.
And a truck rear window.
Yeah, right. Well, if you knew how to drive a tractor.
Well, yeah, we can talk about that later.
But I mean, we're talking about a significant investment of resources and time, and unless you want to hire it out to somebody, and if you hire that out to somebody, you're talking thousands and thousands of dollars, obviously. Mm-hmm. So, I think there's a lot of people that would be interested in the idea, but I really don't think that there's going to be a lot of people that end up doing it.
Yeah, I think anybody that does, the majority of people that do end up doing it are probably already going to have a real mower, and they'll just do what I was doing for the last couple months and just change the height of cut up back and forth,
which is awful.
It's terrible, which is exactly why I wanted to get another mower. And even before I even considered doing a putting green in the backyard, I said, if I'm going to ever do it, I'm going to have two mowers to do it.
Right.
Because
and you have to.
Yeah, it's just so tedious to change the height of cut on those things.
That and honestly, that's one of my biggest pet peeves with commercial reel mowers is changing the height of cut is awful. I mean, mm-hmm. it's a commitment.
Yeah, it's pretty tedious.
I set my height of cut and I don't touch it.
Yep, you just leave it there.
I'd rather buy another reel mower than have to change the height of cut.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, when I get my when I get the John Deere in for sharpening, I'm gonna have him set it to a 1/4 inch, and then I'll mow it until it's filled in really good at a 1/4 inch, and then I'll start going down to like 1/8 of an inch or so.
Just do it, Jimmy. Just go for it.
We'll see.
You have to. Just go for it.
We'll see. I left it at a 1/4 inch when I quit for the year.
Yeah.
So we'll see. Time will tell.
When I put my green in, I took it from 3/4 of an inch down to under a 1/4 of an inch, like that. Just went for it, and it looked
terrible. Yeah, and that's the thing too, is you just gotta know that ahead of time and just understand that it's gonna be okay.
Yeah, I mean, dude, at the end of the day, honestly, like I have ruined my lawn so many different times to where legitimately she has come out and been like, "What did you do?" And in like 2 weeks or 3 weeks, like it's back to fine. I think lawns are like children in the way of they're way more resilient than we give them credit for, mm-hmm. right?
Yep.
Like, I have done some terrible things to grass that should never be done to them, and my lawn has come back from it, and there's been no problem.
Yeah.
You know,
And I think
so
being able to have experiences like that just gives you all that more confidence later on, knowing that if you do something, yeah, it's going to hurt and it's going to look crappy for a little while, but you know, because you've done it before, that it's going to recover.
yeah, and it will, and it's not at the end of the day, it's not. I mean, it's just grass,
Yep.
right?
It's just
Like,
grass.
the whole reason you have a lawn, at least for me, the whole reason I have a lawn is, well, first off, I have to, like, I live in an HOA and they say I have to have a lawn, so I have that. But the reason I have a nice lawn is, for my kids to be out and enjoy it. So,
Yep.
If my kids are enjoying the lawn and they mess it up or do something to it, that, like, it's not the end of the world. Like,
Right.
it's just grass.
Yep.
Like, I'm not raising grass. I'm raising kids, right?
Exactly. Well said.
I'll get down off my soapbox.
Are there any other trends that you can see that are kind of forecasted for the upcoming season?
Yeah, I'm starting a trend, Jimmy.
Let's hear it. I probably already know what you're going to say, but I'll let you say it.
I know you know what I'm going to say, and I think that.
I wasn't sure if you wanted to talk about this, so I'm glad that you're bringing it up.
We can talk about it.
Yeah.
I don't care. I've talked about it on all kinds of things. I've teased it out enough on my channel, on my Instagram, that people know that I'm doing
Yeah.
it.
People that follow you would know.
Right. I absolutely 100% believe this. I think you will start to see, starting this year, with me, and there are some others, I can tell you, the trend of robotic autonomous mowers.
There it is.
I mean, we talked about it. We talked about it at GIE. We saw it at GIE.
We saw a lot of it at GIE.
Literally every company.
Yep.
At GIE had some sort of autonomous mower.
And if it wasn't autonomous, it was some kind of battery powered something.
Right. But I think beyond just battery powered, I think autonomous is it's coming, and you can fight it all you want, but it's here to stay. And I can tell you from my experience over the last since November now, so 3 months or so, something like that. Because I got that mower in early November, so it's been like 4 months. I can tell you my experience with the autonomous mower, is the technology is here, man, and it works, and it does everything you need to do, and it's awesome, and I freaking love it. and it allows me to do everything in my lawn that I want to do in my lawn, and not have to be the one physically out there mowing all the time.
Mm-hmm.
Which, a lot of people are like, "Oh, don't you like mowing the lawn? Like, isn't that the whole, like, I thought you were a lawn care nut. Like, you like to mow the lawn." And I do. I honestly do. I find mowing the lawn kind of therapeutic.
Mm-hmm.
But really, the mowing the lawn is a necessity that leads me to be able to enjoy the lawn with my kids. And I can tell you for sure, I would rather be in the backyard chipping balls onto the green with my kids than be mowing the grass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, just 100% honest. I'd rather be pushing my kid in the swing in the front yard than mowing the grass.
Mm-hmm.
And there's nothing wrong with mowing the grass. Like, I enjoy it. I mean, I do. I've got literally like 5 lawnmowers. Like, I enjoy it, but I enjoy other things more than mowing the grass. And if I can save myself the time to be able to do the things that I enjoy more than mowing the grass, like, I'd be crazy not to. And I think that there are way more people that don't enjoy mowing the grass than there are that do enjoy mowing the grass.
100%.
So I think over the next few years, while these robotic mowers are not commonplace right now. I think over the next handful of years, they're going to be so commonplace that nobody's going to bat an eye at it.
Mm-hmm.
But right now, people literally slam on their brakes and stop to look at the Roomba in my front yard, vacuuming my grass.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I've had people pull over and come talk to me. I've had, like landscaping companies sitting there looking at it. Like, it's crazy. I have more people stopping now than I've ever had, which is crazy because I've always had people stopping
Right.
looking at the grass because they think it's fake. But
right
now
they're looking past that and they're looking at the mower.
Right. They're like, what the heck is that? And I can tell you that the grass looks just as good as when I was real mowing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like, I haven't real mowed I like this mower so much that I initially installed it in my backyard, right? You've been to my house. So
Mm-hmm.
I installed it inside the fence in my backyard. That was where I initially installed it.
Mm-hmm.
Mowed all that perfectly. Did a great job. So I expanded it from that to I have my fence open now to where it can come through the fence to the side yard in the front, and it mows the side yard in the front. And I liked that so much that I put in another zone in my front yard, and now I have it mowing my front yard as well. The only problem with that is I have to physically pick it up and take it to the front yard because the technology isn't quite there to make it know to cross the driveway.
Yeah.
But
it doesn't seem like that technology is far off, though.
I don't think so. I think so. Right now, the homeowner models, you have to have a ground wire installed, just like a invisible fence for your dog.
Yeah.
Which kind of sucks.
Yeah.
It's kind of a pain. But I think within the next handful of years, it'll be all GPS enabled.
Yeah, for sure.
It'll all be geo fenced into a specific area. You'll be able to say, hey, mow this part, and then go across the sidewalk and mow the side, the strip in between your sidewalk and the road,
mm-hmm.
and then go across the driveway and mow the side yard, and then go into the backyard and mow the backyard.
Yeah.
And be able to do
You'll be
all
able
of
to
that
teach
all.
it that there's areas that are not grass, but they're safe.
Right.
So that it knows that it can navigate across those areas, but it doesn't have to mow.
Right. I mean, you're a tech guy.
Mm-hmm.
You've seen the technology advance in other areas. I don't think it's beyond the stretch of the imagination that it's going. The same exact thing is going to happen here, and I think the same thing that's happened with technology in other aspects, as far as like price. I think that's also going to happen here as well, because these, the barrier of entry to get into one of these, like the one that I have is like $2,000 mower.
Mm-hmm.
It's expensive. That's an expensive upfront investment.
Yep.
Yeah. But I think just like flat screen TVs or microwaves, remember when flat screen TVs like first came out, you buy like a 32-inch flat screen TV, it was like $10,000. Mm-hmm. Now you can go down to the old Walmart and buy 55-inch flat screen, 4K smart TV for like $300. Mm-hmm. It's the technology has evolved so much that it's brought that price point down, and I think the same thing's going to happen.
Yeah, no doubt,
mowers.
For sure. And all these wish list features that we were just talking about, the nice thing to know too is that the technology already exists. It's just being able to implement it within the confines of the hardware and the software and all that stuff. And
so like the one that I have, for example, it's GPS enabled right now. Mm-hmm. I mean, I can pull up on my phone and show you where it's at on the map, where it went and what it's been doing. Like, it's GPS enabled right now. I think at some point they're going to push a firmware update through, and it's going to be like, you can program it to go back and forth now.
Mm-hmm.
You can program it to say, hey, this area is off limits. I think it's going to be something as easy as that they'll just push an automatic update and fix.
Yep. I think those are the features that would sell me the most. Is
absolutely.
Not having to install a ground wire. It's all GPS. Being able to mow in normal patterns that we're used to. I think that alone is what I'm waiting for.
Right. But so you have to think of it from the non-lawn care enthusiast perspective as well.
And that's hard for me.
I know it's hard for you. It's hard for me. But if you think of it from the non-lawn care enthusiast perspective, 99% of consumers who are purchasing lawn care equipment right now could care less about mowing patterns in their lawn, right? Look at every house in your neighborhood other than yours. Is anybody else putting stripes in their lawn?
Not intentionally.
Right. So most people don't give a crap. And so most people aren't going to be deterred by a random mowing pattern. And for me, I mean, I like putting stripes in my lawn just as much as anybody else. But for me, I've got Bermuda grass now. You can't really stripe it anyways, so it doesn't really affect me.
Right.
So I don't think it's going to be a deterrent for most people.
Yeah.
I think most people are gonna weigh the pros and cons and say, hey, not mowing my lawn sure outweighs mowing my lawn or paying a service to do it. Because if you think about it that way, let's say you got a service coming out weekly and you're paying $50 a week. Like, shoot, this thing pays for itself in 40 weeks.
Yeah.
Like,
that's less than a year.
Yeah. Especially if you're in a place like down here where you have mowing year round, like
easy.
So worst case scenario, it pays for itself in 2 years in a place that you have a 6-month growing season.
Yeah.
All you have to do is weed eat. Like, seems like a no-brainer to me.
Are there any subscription models associated with that mower or its software yet?
As far as
you're not paying a monthly fee for anything,
paying for features or anything like that. No, it's not anything like that.
Okay. That's good. I hate subscriptions.
Right. Subscription models suck when you have to buy a piece of hardware, right?
Yep.
You're buying something like that, especially at that price point. So, having to pay for a subscription would suck. Like this thing, we paid a crap ton of money for that thing. And then I still have to pay $50 to use it. Every month.
What is it?
It's called the Tonal. It's a home gym.
Oh, okay.
So super cool. I love it.
Yeah.
But yeah, it does suck having to pay $50 a month to use this thing that I paid a significant amount of money to purchase.
Right. So has there been anything interesting that you've learned over the last few months as you've been getting used to using this thing?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely there's a learning curve involved with it, right? As with when you install any sort of equipment, just like if you install a sprinkler system, there's a learning curve. You have to figure out the things that it's going to do that you don't like, and the places that it's going to get have issues. It's the same thing with this. Once I get the green light, I'm gonna make a big video on it and talk about all of this. But really, there are some growing pains with it as you install it, because it's kind of like a puppy, where when you get a new puppy, it's like, or a kid, you have a new kid and your kid starts crawling, like you figure out all of the things that your kid can get into.
Right.
That's kind of what this does. it basically is going to find all of the places that it can get stuck or hung up on or cause problems, and it's going to do those things when it's as inconvenient as possible. So, for example, we installed it at my house, and for the first 3 days, it basically ran flawlessly. I didn't have any issues with it. Fast forward 3 days, we go to head out of town for a couple of days. And the second I left to go out of town, the mower decided that it was going to find new places to get stuck. So literally every single day that I was out of town, it got stuck somewhere. And so I'd text Alan, and Alan would come over and rescue it from being stuck in a hole, because it had found a rut in my yard that I didn't really know about. And the wheel had fallen down into the rut. And then it does this number to try to get out of the rut. And it had just dug itself into a hole to where it was just high centered on the ground there. And it did that like 2 or 3 different times.
I remember seeing Alan's stories about rescuing your mower. I thought that was hilarious.
Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things where it's like when you're teaching your kids something, like you have to like stay there for a week, like potty training. You like you stay at home for a week so your kid can learn how to potty train, and then you can finally go out into the world. It's the same thing with that. You have to stay home for a week at least to let it figure out all the places that it's going to get stuck and have issues.
Yeah.
And once you figure that out, then you don't have any problems. I don't have any problems with it now.
And have you done any maintenance with it yet? Have you changed the blades, or have the blades?
Yeah, I changed the blades twice on it.
Okay. So how do you think that changing the blades is a tedious task? Do you feel like you have to do it too often? Is that kind of a burden, or?
I don't know how often you necessarily have to do it. I'd probably change them more often than most people. But as far as changing the blades goes, it's super, super simple. At least on the model I have. It's literally a Phillips head screw and a little razor blade.
Okay.
So you undo this little Phillips head screw, pop the razor blade out, take a new razor blade in, screw it back in. I mean, it takes 5 minutes.
Yeah, that's not bad.
Easy.
And razor blades are cheap.
Right. And since they're little razor blades, they're super cheap. You don't have to sharpen anything. You don't have anything like that. You literally just throw them away and put new ones on there. And, they sell them in packages of like 500, for like $100 or something. You can buy like 500 blades or something like that.
Yeah,
something
those will last you a long time.
Yeah, it'll last you forever. So you change them once a month or whatever. It'll last you forever.
How many blades does it use?
So it's got 3. The one that I have has 3 different blades on it.
All right.
So it's pretty cool. I mean, like I said, it's just these 3 little razor blades that are probably an inch long each. And with that, it mows the grass, because it doesn't need a big heavy blade, because the way these mowers are designed is they're designed to mow every single day. And so they're constantly going over the same places. And so your grass never has time to grow long.
Right.
And so you're never cutting off more than a little microscopic amount of the grass blade each time. So it doesn't have to be a big heavy blade to lop off a lot of grass and mulch it all up, because it's just such a small amount.
Yeah, it doesn't need 3 mini machetes on it to hack away.
Yeah, I mean, it really is a really cool concept, and I'll be interested to see come the growing season again. But I would imagine it's going to help with the health of the turf, because I'm never going to be taking off big portions of the grass blade. It'll always just be microscopic cuts instead of growing up an inch, cutting down an inch, growing up an inch, cutting down an inch.
Right. Well, I'm excited to see the content that you make for it and to keep up on that. I'm sure, like you said, there's other people that are going to be getting involved there too, and
I know of at least one other guy right now that'll be doing some content.
Mm-hmm.
And I would imagine that there will be more. I think that, you know, the way the industry is going, there's going to be a demand for it, and if there's a demand, there will be people making content on it.
For sure. Yeah, I'm interested to see how it progresses. It's not something that I'm against trying myself. I'm not the other guy, for anybody wondering.
I don't know that I'm at liberty to disclose the other guy.
And I won't disclose it either. I'll let them disclose it when the time is right. And maybe have them on the podcast and have them talk about it, their experiences. But yeah, that'll be fun to see how that progresses. That and, you know, battery equipment in general. I think battery equipment, we saw a lot of that at GIE too. And
I love battery equipment, honestly.
Yeah.
I know a lot of people push back on it, but man, I'm all in.
I don't know if I told you, but all my hand tools this year I'm going to go battery. So I'm hanging up my Echo string trimmer and subbing in an Ego string trimmer. And you know,
I don't blame you. I don't have a single handheld implement at this point that's not battery.
Yeah.
And I haven't for probably 2 or 3 years. That I've had shoot. I bought my first battery string trimmer in 2015. And I haven't had a gas string trimmer since. In 2015, I bought a DeWalt 20-volt string trimmer. Mm-hmm. And ever since then, I've had nothing but battery stuff. Mm-hmm. And just progressively got rid of everything that was gas.
Yep.
It just, for me, and I think the vast, vast majority of homeowners, there's no reason not to.
Yeah.
Like I just had my first Ego battery die on me. And I'm a little sad because the 5 amp hour battery that
that's
died.
A big one.
Yeah. So it's like, to replace it's like $200.
Oh no.
So I don't know that I'm going to replace it, but I had that battery for like 3.5 years, and I'm talking about 3.5 hard years. Mm-hmm. Like you see how I treat my equipment. I don't treat my equipment very gently, and I use it often.
Yeah.
You know, so like I'm not the guy who's like, you know, wiping down everything and it's, you know, it looks exactly like it did when it came out of the box. Like I use it hard and I put it away the way that it came off of the line. It's being used hard. So and frequently. And so to be used that hard for like 3.5 years and just now dying, I'm pretty satisfied with it. Yeah, it sucks that I'm going to have to replace a battery, but I'm probably just going to end up buying another piece of equipment that comes with another battery and just having another battery laying around then.
Yeah, it's typically a better deal that way anyways.
Oh, it's 1,000% better deal. Like, yeah, like I said, a new battery is $200+. Yeah. And yeah, a new tool with the battery is like $225. Mm-hmm. So I'm like, I'd be stupid not to buy the chainsaw or whatever that comes with a battery.
Right.
Or another string trimmer. You know, I heaven knows I need another one of those. I only have 3 Ego string trimmers right now. I could always use another one.
You need one string trimmer for every reel mower that you own. Has to be 1-to-1.
I think I'm covered. I only have 3 reel mowers right now.
Maybe then you just need to go lawnmowers in general.
Yeah, I could get a couple more in there. I recently cleaned out my garage and got rid of a bunch of stuff.
Oh yeah.
So yeah. Because I went from you remember my garage in Utah. I went from having that garage to my garage.
Garages in Florida do not compare to garages.
Oh my
in
gosh,
Utah.
I miss that garage every single day.
Yep, I know what you're talking about. Even the garage I have isn't even all that big.
Right. I miss my garage.
Yeah, I envied your garage. Your garage was great. Ideal.
Yeah.
Ideal. Even had a drain in the floor.
2 of them.
Two drains in the floor.
Just in case. You never know when you can use a drain in your garage floor, right?
Well, to wrap up, is there anything in particular that you're most looking forward to this year?
I mean, the big thing, obviously, we just talked about a bunch, was my my little robot buddy. That's going to be my big thing this year, I think.
Does it have a name? Have you named it?
My kids lovingly refer to it as Mr. Lawnmower. Very original name.
Yeah, but, classic.
Alan calls it the horseshoe crab because it looks like a horseshoe crab.
I can see that.
So, yeah, that's the big one this year, man. I don't have, who knows what I'm actually going to end up doing this year. I don't know. I don't have any sort of plans. So you never know. Maybe I'll do some more golf content.
Hey, that'd be cool. Feel free to include me in that somehow.
Anytime, Jimmy.
All right.
Well, thanks for you down here to Florida for some golf.
I would love that. I'll bring my clubs.
Let's do it. Let's figure out a way. We'll figure out a way.
I like it. Well, thanks for coming on the show and hanging out for a bit. I look forward to whatever it is you end up doing this year.
Who knows?
That's Brett Goodyear on the Cherish Each Mowment podcast. Is anyone else starting to get anxious and excited about the upcoming lawn season? I'll tell you, I am. I am very excited. I'm starting to see content from my friends and fellow YouTubers starting to roll out. There's evidence that warmer temperatures are ahead. And I have all the optimism in the world that it's going to be a great year. It's going to be a busy year, but even though it's busy, it's always so much fun. I'm excited to get started. But I'm more excited to just share the journey with you as the story unfolds. Thanks so much for listening. That's going to wrap up the episode. Thanks for cherishing these moments. I'll catch you next time. See ya!